Why women lose interest, even when you did nothing wrong. Have you ever experienced this before? Everything feels perfect in the beginning. The conversations flow naturally. There's laughter, there's curiosity, and it feels like both of you are genuinely interested in each other. She replies quickly, sometimes even faster than you expect. There's energy, there's excitement, and for a moment, you feel like this could actually become something real. You start to relax. You begin to invest more. You start thinking about where things might go. And then, slowly, something changes. Her replies begin to take longer. Her messages become shorter. The excitement that was once there starts to fade. The energy shifts, and now you're left trying to figure out what happened. You replay everything in your head. Every message, every interaction, every moment. You search for the mistake, trying to understand where things went wrong. But the truth is, you didn't do anything obviously wrong. And that's exactly what makes it confusing. So what really happened? Why do women lose interest even when everything seems fine? In this video, we're going to break this down deeply. And by the end, you'll understand something most men never realize. Sometimes it's not about doing something wrong. It's about losing balance without even noticing it. 1. Attraction is not logical. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to understand attraction using logic. In most areas of life, logic works perfectly. You put in effort and you get results. You work harder and things improve. You stay consistent and you eventually succeed. So naturally, you apply that same mindset to dating. You believe that if you treat her well, she will like you more. If you show effort, she will appreciate it. If you stay consistent, she will remain interested. But attraction doesn't follow that system. Attraction is emotional, not logical. Emotions don't respond to what is technically correct. They respond to how something feels. This is why you can see two completely different men get completely different results. One man puts in more effort, texts more, gives more attention, and still loses her. Another man is more relaxed, less intense, more grounded, and somehow she becomes more interested in him. It doesn't seem fair. It doesn't make sense logically, but it's real because attraction is not built on effort alone. It's built on emotional experience. And when that emotional experience changes, interest changes with it. 2. The shift you didn't notice. Most of the time, interest doesn't disappear suddenly. It fades gradually, almost quietly, in a way that is easy to miss until it's already happened. In the beginning, you are relaxed. You are not overthinking. You are not trying too hard. You are simply being yourself, and that version of you feels natural. It feels effortless, and that is exactly what makes it attractive. But then something changes. You start to like her more, and without realizing it, your behavior begins to shift. You start replying faster. You think about her more often. You check your phone more frequently. You begin putting more effort into keeping the conversation going. All of this feels right to you because you believe you are building something meaningful. But here is where the problem begins. Your level of investment increases faster than hers. And when that happens, balance is lost. Attraction depends heavily on balance. When one person begins to invest significantly more than the other, the dynamic changes. What once felt mutual now begins to feel one-sided, and that shift affects how attraction develops. 3. When interest turns into neediness. There's a very thin line between genuine interest and neediness, and most men cross that line without realizing it. Interest is simple. It feels light. It sounds like enjoying someone's presence and appreciating the connection. Neediness is different. It feels heavy. It creates emotional dependence. It turns the interaction into something you rely on to feel okay. When your emotional state starts depending on her behavior, everything changes. You begin to react instead of respond. You start analyzing small details that don't need analysis. You begin to question things that were never a problem before. You wonder why she took longer to reply. You question her tone. You look for hidden meanings in simple messages. That overthinking leads to overaction. You send extra messages. You try to keep conversations alive when they naturally should pause. You attempt to fix things that were never broken. And slowly, without realizing it, you create pressure. Attraction cannot grow under pressure. It needs space, ease, and emotional freedom. When pressure enters the dynamic, attraction begins to decline. 4. Overavailability and the loss of space. Attraction requires space to grow. Not distance in a negative sense, but space in a healthy, natural way. Space creates anticipation. It allows curiosity to develop. It gives both people room to think, feel, and miss each other. But when you become too available, that space disappears. You reply instantly every time. You're always ready to continue the conversation. You never allow moments to breathe. There is no gap, no pause, no sense of anticipation. It feels like effort, and in your mind, effort should be a good thing. But from her perspective, it becomes predictable, and predictability reduces excitement. When something is always available without any effort, it stops feeling special. It becomes normal, and what becomes normal eventually loses its emotional impact. This is not about playing games or pretending to be busy. It's about maintaining a life that naturally creates space. When your life is full, you don't need to force distance. It happens naturally, and that natural space is what keeps attraction alive. 5. Moving too fast emotionally. Another reason interest fades is because things move too fast emotionally. You begin to open up quickly. You share your thoughts, your feelings, your intentions early on. You give her a full understanding of who you are in a short amount of time. Being open is not a problem. In fact, it's important for real connection. But timing matters. Attraction develops in layers. It needs progression. It needs a sense of discovery. When everything is revealed too quickly, there is nothing left to explore. There is no curiosity, no gradual unfolding, no sense of mystery. And without that, interest slows down. Think about anything that holds your attention for a long time. It doesn't give you everything at once. It builds slowly. It reveals itself piece by piece. That process is what keeps you engaged. Attraction works the same way. 6. Texting and the loss of value. Texting plays a major role in modern attraction, and it is also where many people unintentionally reduce their own value. Texting creates constant access, and constant access often leads to overuse. You begin texting out of habit rather than intention. You send messages because you feel like you should, not because you actually have something meaningful to say. Over time, the interaction becomes routine. It loses its emotional impact. It becomes predictable, and predictable communication is rarely exciting. When texting becomes constant, it loses its value. It is no longer something that creates connection. It becomes something that fills time. And when communication becomes something that simply fills time, interest begins to fade. The real reason she lost interest. The real reason she lost interest is not because you weren't good enough. It's because the balance changed. You moved from being grounded to being emotionally dependent. You shifted from being relaxed to being overly invested too quickly. You went from having your own focus to making her the center of your attention. And that shift changed how she experienced you. Attraction is not about being perfect. It is about maintaining balance. When that balance is lost, attraction naturally begins to decline. Now that you understand this, you can see things differently. You stop blaming yourself for not being enough. You stop trying to fix things by doing more. And most importantly, you stop repeating the same pattern. Because once you understand the role of balance, everything becomes clearer. And when things become clear, your actions change naturally. That is where real improvement begins.